If you make drawing that small circle a habit, your backhand flick, rip, and full loop will develop naturally. You won't even need to think about adding extra friction. The spin comes from the correct swing path. Today, we're going to uncover the single framework, the secret arc, that connects every backhand shot. Let's start with the backhand drive. For the drive, I'll first show the correct technique, and then explain why amateur players often struggle with it. The first key point of the drive is the stance, which is where many players go wrong. Even the kids I coach have this problem. They pull the racket too far to their left side on the backswing. Many players adopt this stance, which is why their backhand corner is often easily penetrated. You must not give up your position to hit the ball. Your backhand side should always be braced by the left side of your body, for right-handers, facing the ball. This way, even if your opponent hits hard, they can't hit through you. However, many players let their contact point get too far back, which prevents them from making solid contact. So, I believe your left shoulder and body shouldn't face straight ahead. Angle them slightly towards your opponent's side of the table. Your backhand stance can be slightly angled, not perfectly square to the table. This is because when you try to generate power, you tend to let the contact point slip back. This causes your contact point to be too late, which leads to unforced errors. So, the first key is to have a slightly angled body stance. The second key point in the backhand system is the starting position. The key to a consistent backhand is making contact in front of your body. The closer your hand is to your body, the less power you can generate. That's why my backswing and recovery point are always in front of me. I return to this position before every shot. My recovery point is always in the same place in front of my body. To take control in a high-speed rally, you cannot repeatedly pull your backswing in too close to your body. Pay special attention to your elbow. It shouldn't pull back and push forward. That movement is slow and lacks power. Even when you retract, your elbow should stay fixed as a pivot, and only the forearm should move. During the backswing and follow-through, the elbow must not move forward and back. Many players, taught by old-school coaches, just push the ball back and forth, which is why they can't generate power. This is especially ineffective against backspin. The reason you can't generate power is that your elbow and upper arm are moving forward and back with the ball. You can use your upper arm for power, but your elbow's forward-backward movement must be minimal, as it severely impacts your swing speed. Instead, keep your elbow stable and use your forearm to execute the forward motion. This makes your stroke much faster, keeps your structure stable, and prevents opponents from hitting through you. Use your forearm to retract and then drive forward. If your elbow moves with the stroke, each shot will be progressively slower. You'll get slower and slower until you are eventually jammed by the ball. Because your backhand is played close to the table, you generally can't play far back, as that would lead to more errors. In this position, if your whole upper arm and shoulder are pushing forward and back, you'll be too slow for the next shot. Keep the elbow stable. The forearm retracts, and the forearm extends. On the backswing, don't pull it too close to your body. I generally maintain a forearm's length of distance. From that point, I drive straight forward. Watch closely. I maintain a forearm's distance, then swing forward and recover to the same spot. Then swing again. My recovery point is consistent for every shot. The forearm can move back and forth, but maintain that forearm's distance from your body. From there, backswing and hit the ball. Now, the third key point is the structure of the backhand swing path. Whether it's a punch, rip, loop, a loop against backspin, or a banana flick, what is the core principle? Let's analyze this. Using your body as the central axis, both the forehand and backhand follow an outside in arc, although it's less pronounced on the backhand. And for many players, after making the arc, the racket might drift to the right. You might feel the motion is straight, but even a powerful drive, like Hugo Calderano's, is actually executed with an outside arc. Let's look at the principle. A straight push is okay for a drive, but it's a disaster for flicks and looping against backspin. The reason you don't dare to loop with your backhand in a match is that you can't execute it reliably. If your backhand attack was a point winner like mine, you'd be hoping for the opponent to serve to your backhand. The issue is a lack of confidence in the technique. Let me explain why your swing path is the problem. Many players who tell me their backhand is weak were taught by old-school penhold coaches who focused on the traditional backhand push block. That era's playing style didn't emphasize generating spin on the backhand side. It was all about forward motion, a pushing feeling. Once you get used to pushing, you learn to punch block. That's where that technique comes from. The backhand is all about hand skill. For instance, I can loop a backspin ball with decent quality using just my arm, even without using my lower body. So the skill is in the hand, unlike the forehand which requires body rotation. Therefore, if your hand and wrist skills are lacking, your backhand can't be good. For the backhand system, I always say to drop your elbow down and use it as a pivot point to rotate your forearm. Just like this, rotate around the elbow, making a circular motion. This is the overall feeling of the backhand. If your forearm doesn't have this rotational component, you won't have the necessary arc. It's the same principle as just pushing on both wings. This works for pips out rubber, as a punch block can be very effective and heavy. But it doesn't work for inverted rubber, because eventually, you need to learn the banana flick, the rip, and the full loop. You need to generate friction, and to do that, you need this swing path. So, in your backhand system, you need this small, outside arc. It isn't large, but it must be there. Think of it like opening a fan. That's your backhand. For example, if the racket is at my belly button, as I start moving forward, it goes slightly to the left first, creating a small outward arc. You need to let the racket go slightly outside your body line as you initiate the swing, and then rotate through the ball. Let me demonstrate a few rips. Notice I'm not pushing straight from back to front. Instead, it follows a distinct arc. See? At the point of contact, the racket is outside my body line. As the ball comes, you use this outside arc. Because the hand action is so fast, it might look like a simple forward motion, but it's actually rotational. If you want to study a good backhand, watch a pro like Fan Zhendong. It's best to find training footage, specifically in slow motion. Look at how full and complete their swing path is. Against topspin, if I do it slowly, I create a small arc. Same for backspin, I can't just lift straight up. I also create a small arc, consciously making that shape. By doing this, you will create the necessary trajectory over the net. Adding power is simply accelerating through the same motion. When the ball comes, don't let your arm go straight forward. Focus on drawing a small circle. If you make drawing that small circle a habit, your backhand flick, rip, and full loop will develop naturally. You won't even need to think about adding extra friction. The spin comes from the correct swing path. Let me share my teaching progression. Start with the backhand flick on short balls. You see, when you're flicking a short ball, if you lift it from bottom to top, it's easy to hit the net. When you flick, rotate the racket head. The path from here to here naturally creates an arc. You're using the wrist as a pivot, aren't you? You can see the natural arc from the start to the end of the motion. The racket head starts facing sideways and finishes facing upwards. That's the process. Once you get a feel for creating this arc with the racket head, you can move on to the full drive. Now, bring your arm back, keep the wrist stable for a moment, and let the forearm create the rotation. Because the short ball stroke is smaller and simpler, there are fewer opportunities for error. Start with short balls. Remember, the racket head moves from side facing to up facing. But it also moves forward, not just up. Building on that, bring the arm back and let the forearm complete the same arcing motion. See? Racket head facing side, then up. Once you're comfortable with this, you can start adding friction by incorporating that initial flicking wrist action at contact. When you add that friction, it becomes a rip. If your backhand frequently hits the net, lacks power, or you're afraid to attack serves, be patient and break down the movement. First, use a small motion with just the wrist. Then, incorporate the forearm rotation. Finally, add the friction. Progress step by step like this. Once you can execute the rip, the flick and the full loop will come much more easily. This is because most amateurs can't separate the movement of their forearm and upper arm on the backhand. They can't isolate the forearm from the upper arm. When we learn to separate them, the forearm acts like the second section of a whip. Then you can drive, you can punch, you can do anything. You have to treat your forearm like a whip for that secondary acceleration. Once you do that, the shot becomes much simpler.